going on, everyone? Welcome to Offbeat Motors. I'm your host Corey, and today we're going to be turning this pile of parts and pieces into this.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Hey everyone, before we jump back into the video, I just want to give a big shout out to today's sponsor, LiTime. Now, if you live on the road, off-grid, or love exploring remote places, reliable power, it can make or break the experience, especially when you want to charge cameras and whatnot. LiTime specializes in high-quality lithium iron phosphate batteries that are lightweight, ultra efficient, and built to last for thousands of cycles. Perfect for powering your overlanding rig, RV, or cabin setup. They also have applications for boats. They deliver dependable power wherever your journey takes you, so you can spend less time worrying about the energy and more time enjoying the road ahead. And they're not just about batteries. They also offer DC to DC chargers, solar chargers, DC to DC plus solar charger in one unit, and inverters. So make sure you check out LiTime. And don't forget to use the code OFMO8 at checkout, and you can save an additional 8% on your order. Links for everything will be down in the description, and thanks again to LiTime for supporting the channel. Now let's get back to it. Okay, so before we jump into the actual project, backstory on what's going on here. As you just saw in the finished product clip real quick, building a permanent power station battery type thing, dual battery setup, whatever you want to call it, for the back of my Jeep for when I'm off-roading and overlanding and stuff like that, so I can have some constant power when the vehicle's not running. We're going to go through the products in a second, but I want to get you up to speed of what I've done so far that you haven't seen. There is another video that's going to come out after this, which will showcase some of what I've already done. Not everything, but some of. And before we get started, I just want to say that this video is sponsored by LiTime. Yes, I got a sponsor. So more about that in a second. So let's check out what we've already done to get to this point. Okay, so the Jeep's outside the garage because it doesn't really fit in these newer style homes. So I put a rack up here on the back half. This rack is a hook road rack. It still allows you to remove the front panels, because I do take those off occasionally. I don't ever take the back piece off, but I do remove the front panels on occasion, so it still gives you the ability to do that. And on said rack, we got a solar panel. That is a 200 watt 12 volt solar panel, and that is going to help recharge the LiTime battery that we're going to be putting right here. So as you can see, I got the seats removed. The driver rear seat is going to go back in. I also got the back panel removed, but for the right here, we removed the 60% portion of the passenger side. Built this platform. Don't judge my carpentry work because I'm not a carpenter, but it still allows me to get access to the storage behind it, the jack if I ever need it, which I don't even know if that jack will work with this vehicle anymore with the being slightly lifted. But right here we're going to have the 12 volt cooler that's going to go here. I also went ahead and installed a couple ports. I don't think you can really see that, but this vehicle did not come with the ports in the back for the 12 volt like accessory style cigarette lighter style port. So I wired in one of those, and I wired in another port which does USB-C and USB-A. So I got some more charging ports there too. Those are run by my aux beam 8-gang switch panel right here, ACC. So I don't have to have them on all the time. I can turn them on and off as I feel. The back panel is removed so I can get wires in and out. If you see right there, that is the wire coming from the solar panel. It currently has this connector on it, which I bought this cable with this connector on it because originally I wasn't planning on doing this whole battery setup that's going to go right here. I was planning on just using a Anker power station that I bought. It's a 1000 watt hour, something like that. But this is the connector it takes from the solar panel. So I bought a specific wire that goes from the solar panel connections down to this. I'm just going to end up cutting this off because I'm going to, which you'll see when I'm going to wire it into the system here. But we'll get to that in a second. So the back panel is going to end up going back on once I get the wires run in and out. I got that one run. There's no real good way with a Jeep to run wires. There are some holes in the floor if you remove the plugs, but I wanted something a little higher than that in case I get into a situation where we're in some water. So for the time being, this is just a temporary thing until I find something more permanent. I ran it right through here on the top one. I think it's going to work for now, but it's probably not going to stay that way. And then we always know how that's a temporary thing, ends up being a permanent thing. But the panel will go back on here. The battery's going to sit right here, which I already have the board cut out for it. There's going to be a top board that gets tied into these bolts right here. That reminds me, I got to get those longer bolts. That's going to come out, and then there's going to be another panel that comes down, which is going to go right here. And that's where all the other electronics are going to go. So now that we know what's going to happen, we got to start working on turning all of this into a functioning system. So for clarity, like I said earlier, this video is sponsored by LiTime. They did provide me with the battery and the DC to DC charge controller, which also has MPPT capability. So the inverter, I just bought the same inverter to make sure it works with the system from LiTime. I paid for that, and I paid for everything else. So just clarity, battery, DC to DC charger, and that was their sponsorship. So the way this is going to work, I already got the boards cut out. This is the back board, which is going to go against the back panel, and the battery is going to be facing towards the front of the Jeep. That will end up being covered by this panel, which is going to house all of these components. And then, of course, we have the top panel right here, which we're also going to, if I get that out of the way, add some more of these ports. 3 of them right here. I'm going to end up putting holes in this board so wires can run through it and then up the back side of it, so kind of has a cleaner look. There's going to be a lot of the wires that are still on the outside visible, and that's fine. This is kind of like a proof of concept type thing for something more permanent that I might end up building. But let's go through this real quick, and by no means is this a how-to. This is just how I'm doing it. The one thing you need to remember is you need to size your wire, and you can have to do your research on what size wire to use based upon the power system that you're designing and going to use, because it's very crucial that the wire size matches or slightly exceeds what your capabilities are for your system. So the positive and negative. Right off the bat, we got a 100 amp fuse, which is going to be connected right here to the positive, and then the battery cables are going to be connected to the positive will be connected to this, negative there. They're going to run up, which will basically run up, and then I got a couple spots marked out where they're going to come through. The negative is going to go to the negative bus bar, and from the negative bus bar to the negative on the inverter. Positive is going to go through this switch, so I can turn it on and off. And then it's going to go from the switch to the positive bus bar, and from the other end of the positive bus bar, it's going to go into this fuse block with another 100 amp fuse. And then from that fuse block to the positive of the inverter. For the DC to DC charger to recharge the system, we're going to have 2 ways of charging. One is going to be solar, the other is while the vehicle is running. So this allows you to do both. The other cool thing is if you kill the main battery of your vehicle, this charger, DC to DC charger, has a reverse charge option. So if you hold that button, it'll put it into reverse charge, and it will take energy from that battery and push it through to your start battery to help recharge that in the time of need and help you get you going again. So it's kind of a cool thing. So the solar is going to come in through here, which we already saw the wire is run, I'm gonna running a dual pole switch. It's gonna come in through here, and then it's gonna come down into an Anderson connector, which is this right here. So I'm gonna bolt that right there, and it does come with, this does come with the additional Anderson connectors, by the way. This will get bolted right here, and then the wire is going to come around into the Anderson connector and then plug in. So you'll be able to disconnect it from there too. For the power from the vehicle while it's running, right here, I'm going to put a hole in this board right here. I'm going to run it through, and then it's going to be mounted on the back side. And then you got your positive and negative, which are going to run up to the positive and negative of the main battery of your vehicle. But before the positive goes into the main battery, we're going to run it through a 50 amp circuit breaker. This blue wire right here, because I have a what is known as a smart alternator in my Jeep. If you do not have a small alternator, you'll have to look it up for your vehicle to find out. You don't need this wire, but this is going to go into the fuse box and tap into a ignition source, and it's going to tell the system when the alternator is charging and whatnot and running. To tap in, I got some of these fuse taps, so you can run 2 fuses. To charge the system, we have this one here, which is the output, positive and ground. So that's going to get bolted to the board like this. And the positive is going to go through this 50 amp circuit breaker, and then from this 50 amp circuit breaker to the positive bus bar. And the negative is going to just run straight over to the negative bus bar. So that's going to get our inverter set up and our charging set up to be able to recharge the vehicle via solar or through the alternator. To power these things right here, we need some 12 volt power source, in which case we have a 12 volt fuse block. I'm only going to use a couple ports, and to wire this in, you just got a positive and negative, which is going to run from bus bar negative to negative post, positive bus bar to positive post. And on this particular one, all the negative lines to your 12 volt out sources are going to go here, and then the positives here with their fuses. And then, like I said, these wires are going to end up going through this board and then up to this top board to plug into these. So that is a gist of what we have going on. I got a bunch of my stuff laid out. I took a lot of time figuring out where, which that takes a lot of time, figuring out where everything's going to go. Might shift some things here and there as I'm building this. And I also took all the time I needed to make sure the lugs that I'm using not only are proper size for the wire, but they are proper size for the post. Because you don't want, for instance, this wire or this lug going to this post because it doesn't fit it properly. It's too big. Make sure your lug is sized for the wire and proper size for the post, so it doesn't have a lot of movement like that. So then, of course, I laid out all my heat shrink of where everything's going to go, because we're going to heat shrink all the connections. I didn't have enough of the red heat shrink, so I decided to put in some of the black heat shrink, which I had plenty of. I did that in certain areas where I know it's positive wire, because each end will have a positive. If it's a double negative black casing, like from here to here, you know that's a negative wire. But if it has a positive to positive or red to red, then you know that's positive, or red and black, that's still positive. And I'll remember that. So hope that's not too confusing. And again, this isn't a how-to. This is how I did it. There are some tools you're going to need, which we have here for the larger connections. Put the connector in here, set it down on the floor, and then you hit it with a hammer. We also have these crimpers for some of the larger ones. You want to make sure you have some nice cutters, some strippers, and maybe these type of strippers and crimpers you might need as well for some of your smaller connections. So put you up on a time lapse and we'll get going on this, and then we'll cut back to the finished product. So here we got the battery mounted. It does come with these brackets. I changed out the screws. It's 3/4 plywood, so I had to get some screws that were a little bit shorter than the ones they came with because they did go through all the way, and I didn't want them poking through the backside. So that's all mounted. Next, we're going to go ahead and get the top piece and then the front piece, and we're going to start bolting this box kind of together. And then that way it'll sit up like this, and then we can start working on the front panel piece where all the components are going to go. All right, there's the box and what it's going to look like. As you can see, this is going to be where all the components that are currently down there. So we're going to have the inverter, the switch, the DC to DC charger, positive bus bar, negative bus bar, 12-volt power source, and then up top I got the things cut out for the power ports to go into. And coming around here, you can see the battery is right back in there. So the next thing we need to do is start running cables, cutting cables. We don't want them too long. We want them just long enough with a little bit of play. I'm not going to bore you with all that, but we're basically going to start mounting stuff so we know where we got to start running wires, which I already planned out. I do have these all smoothed out too, so there's no sharp edges. So when the wires come through, it'll be nice and easy transition. So. All right, so we got everything bolted down where we want it to be. Except for this is just sitting there because I got to pull it up to attach the positive cables from the back side. So that's not actually bolted, but I do have the bolts going down, no nuts on the other side. Solar's good to go, the DC to DC charger, the bus bars, the fuse blocks, Oh no, not this one. Still gotta find screws that are gonna fit in here and not poke all the way through. I forgot about that. Inverter's good to go. Circuit breaker's good to go. I got these loosely mounted, so I know where they're gonna go, and including the one on the bottom. Now is the fun part of running wires, cutting the wires, crimping the connectors, and putting it all together. And then this whole thing can go in the truck. So, yeah. Also, I did add some supports to the side. I didn't plan on that originally, but then once I started putting it together, I'm like, yeah, let's go ahead and add a support here. So it stiffened it up pretty good too. So should be good to go. I'm confident this is going to work and work out pretty well. Or else I wouldn't be doing this, obviously, I guess. But we'll find out. So we find a couple of screws, 4 to be exact, to mount that. And then I'll start doing wires and crimping and everything else. Okay, take a pause and show you where we're at. We got a lot of the thicker gauge wires run. Still need to run and bolt this down, the wires for this. The next thing I'm going to work on is running the 4-gauge cables from bus bar to switch, and then from switch to battery, and then the negative coming up into the negative bus bar. So yeah, starting to use some cable ties to hold these down. These are bolted down so they don't go anywhere. And then once I get that settled and get it inside the vehicle, then I got to run the line from the alternator battery setup in the vehicle from the front to the back and connect into here. So it's coming along, and it's going faster than I thought it was going to, mainly because I did all the planning over the last couple of weeks and rearranging things and figuring out where the cables are going to go and whatnot. So, and making sure I had the right size lugs. Everything was laid out where it had to be. So that really helped me like really run through this project, getting it together. So I just need to finish it up now. And once it stops thundering and lightning and everything else outside, I can get it in the truck, the Jeep, whatever you want to call it. I'll check back with you when I get the remaining wires ran from the battery up to the switch and bus bar, and from that bus bar to the battery. Okay, so far I have not done the rest of the cables to the battery yet. I started fiddling around and I got 12-volt stuff ran. Some holes that they're going through, positives and negatives going through, and they're coming up to the top where I have the ports. So I got USB, USB-C, USB, USB-C, and just cigarette lighter style. I also, I don't know if you can see it in there, but I also was able to, right here, there and there, which you probably can't see, got some cable management stuff going on there so that those cables are not flopping around. Basically what I put here, smaller ones, I was able to get them in there, so got that done. So now I definitely have to do the positive and negative coming from the battery. That's the last part of this process until I get it in the vehicle, in which then I have to run the solar and the DC to DC up to the battery. So I guess next we're going to work on the positive and negative from the battery. Okay, so this is where we're at. I got all the wires run, everything's hooked up. So if I flip this switch, we got power. And over here, boom. So the last thing I got to do is get this mounted in the truck after I fix the leaking rear window that I found today, and then get the DC to DC charger connected to the main battery and a ignition on source, so it knows what it's doing there. Then I'll have to set the DC to DC to let it know that it's a lithium battery back there, and then it should be good to go. So I'll be back once I get this connected. Okay, so I've had this in about 6-7 times, and now it's in for the final time. I got it bolted down. It's using the existing mounting locations for the top to the body. So I bought some longer bolts to bolt that in. This thing is not going anywhere. And it's also screwed to this bottom piece, so it's all one piece. So it's all pretty solid. I got the wires run from the DC to DC charger up to the battery. I'll show you that. So here's the circuit breaker. I got it on a bracket right here that mounts to a fender bolt. So that's pretty good. That's not going anywhere. And now I can turn it on and off right from here. And negative, positive. So next I gotta put the signal wire into an ignition source in the fuse box. Problem I have now is, we come around this side. This is the wire I'm using for the signal, and as you can see, it starts and ends right here because I forgot to wire it and mount it to the battery cables and bring it through at the same time, And now I can't get back there because I got the back panel back on, and this thing will break if you take it back off. I had to fix it already. So now I got to come up with a different solution. So I don't know what I'm going to do because there's very minimal holes in the floor because, well, water will get in. So I don't want to run it through the floor, and the best place that I could find for the time being was through the back wall here, through those vent areas that are already there, and then down and along the frame, which it's all tied up under the frame along the passenger side. So I think I'm going to run this under the carpet area along here, down in through here, and there is a hole that is up under the dash that my GMRS antenna goes through right there. So I think I'm going to try to get it to go through that same location, and then I'll just bring it up and over to the fuse box. So I'll check back with you when I figure that out. All right, so we got everything wired up front and the vehicle is running. And right here, you can see it is charging off of the alternator. If I was to turn the vehicle off and I flip this switch, which isn't going to do anything right now because it's shaded, but this would turn the solar power on, and then what, this light over here would light up and blink, showing that it's charging. Okay, so now that the sun is out and the solar panel has some sun, I figured I'd give you a quick demonstration of the DC to DC charger running off the solar, like it was when I showed you running off the alternator. So flip this switch, that turns the system completely on for the power flow. And if I go here, we get charging. And so right here, see it's charging, and it's indicating that it's charging off of solar. So this thing is now regenerating off of solar. And again, if I had the shunt installed, I could go into an app and see how much is being brought in from the solar panel to the battery, but I don't have that. Eventually I will. I'll do that later, like I said earlier. So there it is. So everything's working as it should. The one thing I would note is, which I didn't do, and I didn't even think about it, should have added a shunt so I can download an app for whatever shunt that app works with. It would go in line right here on the negative, and then there's a line that would come off to the positive. And that would just give you the ability to go into an app and monitor what's going on, what's going into the battery, out of the battery, what the state of the battery is and everything, because this battery doesn't have Bluetooth that I'm aware of, but a shunt would fix that real easily. So I'm probably going to add that down the line. I'm not going to worry about it this week, but everything's working as it should. I tested out the inverter. The inverter's good to go. All the ports up here are good to go. The solar's charging like it should, and the alternator is charging like it should. So there we go. That's my power system that I decided to build, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And don't forget to check out the LiTime sponsorship down in the description. There will be some links, and there's also a discount code that's going to be in the description for you as well. So thanks a lot, have a good time, and I'll catch you next time.